Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Back here for Daily Shakeup number 524. Today, I want to talk about a phrase that we use all too often. In fact, one that we actually need to eliminate because it has no place in business and leadership or in management, or even in families. That is as soon as possible. As soon as possible. And yet, it's this one we use so often and over because we think it's about urgency, but it's really not. Because here's the problem with as soon as possible leadership and management. First of all, it's confusing, vague, ambiguous, you name it. It lacks commitment, which means it precludes accountability and it misses the benefits of thoughtful priorities and prioritization. How often when someone says, when do you need this? And your response is, as needed as soon as possible. Or you give someone a project and say, I need this as soon as possible. Well, it makes sense in the moment because it seems urgent. But as I said, it's fraught with all these problems and shortcomings. First, not everything is urgent. And not everything needs to be done right now. And by the way, if something is so critical that it needs to be done right now, then that's the priority, not as soon as possible, right now. Drop everything and be clear about that commitment as well as that direction. And what's the impact of dropping everything to literally do it right now? Secondly, as I said, as soon as possible, it's vague, ambiguous, and confusing. We know for certain that your definition of as soon as possible is unlikely to align with mine. And if you're going to have a discussion of exactly what it means, now you're getting into a commitment, you're no longer talking about as soon as possible. The third issue with as soon as possible is asking for everything to be done as soon as possible is not asking for a commitment because there's no clarity. And if I agree to do something as soon as possible, I put agree in quotes, that's not really a commitment because when is it due? When is it expected? Because again, it's vague and ambiguous. No one really knows what as soon as possible means. Fourth, if we don't have a clear commitment, then we can have no accountability because as soon as possible, by nature, precludes accountability, which is so vital to effectiveness. And finally, priorities and prioritization is critical, and it means being thoughtful and having open, honest communication to see things where things fit in priorities for collectively within a team for that individual. And through that communication, now we can have a clear commitment and clear accountability. So here's the bottom line. If something is critically urgent, then it needs to be done right now, not as soon as possible. So we've got right now or prioritized clear commitments. There's no place for as soon as possible because when we do it with thoughtfulness and we have honest communication and we get key understood and agreed upon priorities for key projects and objectives, that's what works. As soon as possible is neither of those. And frankly, it's lazy leadership and lazy management. So dump as soon as possible. It's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. Let's be thoughtful and either do it now or let's have that conversation about what are the priorities and the commitments from those priorities. That's it for today. Keep taking care of yourself and everyone around you. By all means, stay connected.